Every woman's dream is to have a happy family, a loving husband and a house full of innocent girls. I too had the same dream. But when I got married, my mother-in-law started finding every dream of mine a burden. They thought I was barren, taunted me, and tried to take my husband away from me. But when the truth came out, the same eyes that used to look down on me were now bowed in shame. I still remember the day when I got married and I came to my husband's in-laws' house. On my wedding day I was having many different emotions, happy and also a little nervous, because I was leaving home and going to a new house. Everyone at home was curious to know about me, and I too was curious to know what my new family would be like. As soon as I stepped into the house, the first things that caught my eye were those things which made me feel that there was no order of any kind here. Everything from bathroom to kitchen was in disarray. I saw that the kitchen was in disarray, utensils were lying here and there was no order there. Then my eyes stopped. The bedroom, where my mother-in-law and father-in-law slept, was also not arranged properly. There were clothes lying on the bed and all the things in the room were arranged in a haphazard manner. For me it was no less than a shock. I started wondering, is this the house I'm going to call my home? But then I controlled myself and realized that now I am going to start my life here, and I have to make this house a good environment by decorating it. My husband had never paid attention to it. He treated me like a friend and always tried something new to keep me happy. I remember well that just a few days later, he asked me, "What places would you like to see?" I replied, "I want to see some famous places in America." What happened next? My husband immediately fulfilled my wish and took me on a trip to America. He took care of every small and big thing, keeping in mind my likes and dislikes. But, after seeing and hearing all this, my mother-in-law became very angry with me. They did not like my happiness, my systematic thinking, and my husband's friendly behavior towards me at all. She was always angry with me and taunted me. What he had to say was, "What are you doing? You are just resting. You have left the housework like a maid." She would point a finger at my every step. Within a few months of my marriage, I realized that my mother-in-law did not like my way of working at all. Whenever I tried to improve household chores, or talk about decorating the room, she would get into trouble with me. He said, "Let it be as it is. Everything is fine, nothing needs to be changed." But I would silently ignore his words. I believed that I could beautify this house and improve the environment here. The first thing I did was organize the kitchen properly. Utensils and other items were scattered everywhere, which I did not like at all. I put them in their right place and cleaned the kitchen. Then I decorated and cleaned the bedroom. I noticed that there were no colorful curtains anywhere in the room, so I installed colorful curtains there, so that the room looked more beautiful. I was sure that these small changes would improve the atmosphere at home and my mother-in-law would also appreciate my efforts. But this did not happen at all. In my mother-in-law's eyes, I had become a maid, who only did household chores. She would always taunt me, "You don't need to do anything else, just do the housework." All this started affecting my mental health. I couldn't be as happy as before. This attitude of mother-in-law continued, and my husband never said anything about it. He was always busy with his work life and did not give me any advice to get out of all this. He initially acted like my good friend, trying every way to keep me happy, but later his attitude started changing. Gradually he started coming under the influence of his mother and started moving away from me. This situation had become very difficult for me. It was becoming very difficult for me to change all this, because I started to feel that my family no longer understood me properly. I continued to bear everything silently, but was feeling very broken inside. I never said anything in front of my mother-in-law, nor shared my complaint with my husband. I felt that now I have to deal with this situation in this house and prepare myself to change the atmosphere of the house. This time was very challenging for me, but I never gave up. The passion that was inside me kept me motivated to move forward. It was in this first part, that when I stepped into my mother-in-law's house, I had to face the condition of the house from the very first day. This was something I had not imagined. But I controlled myself and tried my best to make this house better. This time after marriage was very confusing for me. In the first few months, my husband was like a friend to me. He was always with me, talking to me on small things to keep me happy. But as time passed, I started feeling that the happiness of the initial days of our marriage slowly started fading. My mother-in-law's displeasure and her taunts were beginning to affect my husband as well. This was the time when I understood that my mother-in-law considered me only as a maid to do the housework and household chores and not a daughter-in-law. Every time I tried to do a better job around the house, or fix something, she would get angry at me. "Let it be as it is," he said. "What do you think? Everything is fine." I always ignored his words and resolved to keep the house properly decorated. Every corner of the house was important for me. I had decorated everything from the kitchen to the bedroom. I noticed that the decoration of the house was very simple, and I thought that it could be made a little more attractive and neat. But my mother-in-law's behavior was very harsh. I clearly remember when I tried to organize the kitchen, she said to me, "What do you mean? It was all already fine, you don't need to change anything." This attitude of his disappointed me even more, but I did not show it to anyone. I would just remain busy with my work and try to make the atmosphere at home better. With time, my husband started becoming distant from me. Earlier he used to discuss every little thing with me, but now he talks to me very little. I also remember that after some time, he started spending more time with his friends instead of going out with me. His separation from me hurt me a lot, but I never shared my problems with him. I always thought, maybe he's having issues with my mother-in-law, and he can't spend time with me. Then one day, my mother-in-law came up with a new way to humiliate me even more. He started filling my husband's ears. She would tell them, "Look, what is your wife doing? She is busy cleaning the house, but she has no purpose. What are you thinking? There will be no child in a house like this." He also said, "You have kept her in the house as a maid, will she take care of your house?" My husband, who was with me earlier, was gradually coming under the influence of his mother. He was not paying as much attention to me as before. All this hurt me very much, but I never said anything. I knew that if I shared all this with my husband, he would not understand what I was saying. I was afraid that maybe my mother-in-law and husband would blame me, and then I would feel even more isolated. Gradually the atmosphere at home started changing. Where earlier I used to spend quality time with my husband, now he was moving away from me. It caused me a lot of pain. I asked myself, what am I doing wrong? Is my mother-in-law right? Am I a bad daughter-in-law? This situation continued for a year, and every day I was feeling that something was not going right in my life. The taunts of my mother-in-law on one hand and the distance of my husband on the other had brought me to the verge of breaking down. I realized that my marriage had reached a point where there was no understanding between us. During this time I also realized that my mother-in-law had never accepted me as her daughter-in-law. She always treated me like a maid, and I felt like she would never be able to see me as a family member. This was the reason why I gradually started feeling uncomfortable in the atmosphere at home. I thought one day, should I leave this house? Should I separate from my husband? But then I said to myself, no, I have to save my marriage. I have the right to be loved and respected in this house. I have to prove that I am a responsible daughter-in-law and wife. The question in my mind was whether my mother-in-law would ever accept me, and would my husband ever come back to me? But I knew that only time would tell, and I would keep trying to improve my home. This was the second part of my life, when I had to face the taunts of my mother-in-law and the increasing distance from my husband. At this time, I realized that I had to make myself stronger to bring about a change in my life, because only my efforts could bring me respect in this house. A year had passed, and I realized that things were no longer the same. The tension between my husband and my mother-in-law was very high, and I felt like I was trying to handle everything alone. I had already understood for a long time that my husband had distanced himself from me, but now I also realized that tension and negativity were increasing in the atmosphere at home. My mother-in-law would always taunt me, and she would never miss an opportunity to belittle me as my husband would listen to me. On one hand, my husband was moving away from me, and on the other, my mother-in-law considered me nothing more than a house help. All this was becoming very difficult for me, but I had never talked to anyone about my problems. I endured all this silently every day, because I thought this was what was right for me. Then one day, I realized that something was not right at home. Our relationship was not the same as before, and it didn't take me long to understand that there was another reason for this. One day when we were alone, I asked my husband, "Is something going on? Why are you so distant from me?" My husband quietly told me, "It's nothing, everything is fine." But his answer wasn't truthful, and that upset me even more. One day I decided that I had to find out more about this condition. I said to myself, if something isn't right, I have to find out. I thought about some of the problems in my body and realized that somewhere I too was facing physical problems. Maybe I was also thinking about the children, and I understood that if we have any problems in the future, we should know about it as soon as possible. I decided to get a medical checkup done without telling anyone. It wasn't easy, but I felt I had no other choice. I went to the hospital and got a complete checkup in silence, and asked the doctor if my physical problems would pose any obstacles to having children. After examination, the doctor said that physically I had no problem, but when he saw my report, he said that the problem could be with my husband. I was absolutely shocked to hear this. I never imagined that my husband could be the cause of this problem. The report revealed that my husband had some physical problem, and due to this we both were facing difficulty in having children. Knowing this fact gave me a new hope, but at the same time I also felt very sad that I could not know this information till now. I looked at the report very carefully and then thought that I should discuss it directly with my husband. But I was also afraid of what he would think if I told him this. Will he blame me? Will he accept it? All this kept going on in my mind. I also remembered that my mother-in-law always used to tell me that I couldn't be a mother, but now I understood that she was wrong. I decided to talk to my husband about the report. One day when he came home, I put the report in front of him and said, "This report is about you, and I think we should talk about it." He looked at the report and sat quietly. His silence was very disturbing to me. After a while, he said, "You're right, I really have a problem." My heart sank when I heard this, but I knew it was true and I had to accept it. I was a little nervous seeing my husband's condition, but at the same time I realized that now I have to explain it to him and the family in the right way. I also understood that if I try to solve this problem now, maybe everything can turn out for the better. I also realized that my husband moving away from me was not only because of me, but the problem was related to his physical health. Now I started to feel that perhaps the taunts my mother-in-law had given me were wrong. And now I had a solid reason with which I could prove to them that it was not I who was causing the problems in this house, but something else. I knew that it would be very difficult for my husband to accept this, but now I was ready to face this difficult time with him. Now I started thinking how I can solve this problem and fix my relationship with my husband and mother-in-law. I had many questions in my mind, but despite all this I felt that I was stronger than before. Now the time had come for me to take this step in my life, that I will face all this and take my family in the right direction. A few days had passed since I presented the report to my husband, and I realized that this was really a big problem that I couldn't solve alone. There were a lot of questions running through my mind about how to get out of this whole situation. I was also able to understand that it was very important for the mother-in-law to know about this. If she knew that the problem was with her son, perhaps she would stop blaming me, and the atmosphere at home would be a little lighter. But when I thought about how to talk to my mother-in-law about this, there was a fear in my heart. I thought it would be very difficult for my mother-in-law to hear this, because she always thought that I was the problem in this relationship. She had always told me that I couldn't be a mother, and now I was afraid that if I told her the truth, she might view me even more negatively. Then one day, I was forced to take this step. One evening when both my mother-in-law and my husband were at home, I quietly said to my mother-in-law, "Mom, I need to talk to you." My mother-in-law looked at me with narrow eyes and said, "What is it? Tell me something, but do it quickly." I held my breath and presented the report to him. "Mom, this report is from my husband, and we have got new information in it. I think, now you should know about it." My mother-in-law looked at the report with keen eyes, and when she saw that the report contained information related to her son's physical health, there was a startled movement in her eyes. He silently read the report once more and then looked at me. There were a lot of emotions in his eyes. This was the first moment when I saw that mother-in-law heard me properly and understood the report. After some time the mother-in-law said, "So this is the reason why you guys are not able to have a child?" I nodded and said, "Yes, Mom, that's why. This report clears everything up." Mother-in-law's face had calmed down from anger. I thought he felt embarrassed, because in his eyes I was always blamed. I thought maybe this was the first time he looked at this whole situation from the right perspective. "I'm sorry," said the mother-in-law softly. These words were too big for me. I never thought she would forgive me, because she always tried to bring me down. Now, when she realized the truth, her face turned red, and she became silent. "We always misunderstood you." "I'm sorry," he said. I smiled softly and said, "It's okay, Mom. I can understand why you did it. It was a difficult situation, and we needed to handle it properly." Mother-in-law nodded at what I said and then silently went out of the room. This day was very important for me, because I realized that the biggest problems in a family arise only from lack of communication. Sometimes we have to muster the strength to speak the truth, and only then we can open the way to change something in the heart of the other person. After sharing this true thing with my mother-in-law, I realized that maybe things at home can slowly get better now. Now I understood that this whole problem was part of a process. My husband had also come to know about this truth, and my mother-in-law had also now understood the truth. Meanwhile I felt a new strength inside me. This time was very difficult for me, but now I knew that if I took everything in the right direction, our family could be happy once again. Now some changes were taking place in the house. Mother-in-law had started understanding me more, and I was finding it easier to keep pace with her. My husband also started supporting me more than before. Although all this did not happen suddenly, I was convinced that taking the right steps at the right time could improve our relationships. This idea was now clear in my mind that if I handle everything properly and intelligently, the atmosphere at home can change. While struggling with the problems at home, I gradually taught myself a lot. I tried to convince my husband, mother-in-law, and myself that we can overcome any difficulty only by connecting with each other. Now I was trying to give a new direction to this struggle, so that our relationship could be strengthened again. After knowing the truth from my mother-in-law, I started feeling that now improvement in the family is possible. Even though a lot of bad things had happened in the initial days, I had now understood that sometimes we have to face the truth to save relationships. As the atmosphere at home calmed down a bit, I felt that my husband and I needed to talk to each other more openly. In the beginning, when I had my husband communicate with his mother-in-law, he was feeling a little awkward. He never expected that the reason for our marriage problems could be his physical problems. He had also started moving away from me a lot, but now when he saw his mother-in-law's reaction, his attitude started changing a little. He started talking to me more now, and gradually he started trying to find solutions to problems one-on-one with me. One day I said to my husband, "Now we have to move forward with each other's help. We have to regain the unity of our family." My husband considered what I said and then said, "You are right. Now we have to end all this and take the right path for our family." This was a big moment for me, because before this, we had never had the opportunity to talk so intelligently. I was now convinced that whatever difficulties we were facing, we could solve them in the right way. I was now feeling some relief from my husband and mother-in-law, and a new hope had awakened within me. After this, mother-in-law and I also gradually became closer. The distance and tension that was there earlier was now reducing. Mother-in-law also slowly started accepting me as a daughter-in-law. Although it was still taking time for us to understand each other, it was good that we started talking to each other. My mother-in-law told me, "I have come to understand that I needed to understand you properly as a mother-in-law. Your hard work and efforts have reorganized the house. Now I know that you are not just a daughter-in-law, but an important part of this family." These words meant a lot to me. This change in my mother-in-law was a big victory for me, because now the gap between us started reducing. Now I started feeling more comfortable in the home environment and with my mother-in-law. My husband and I now started working together to make the house better. Both of us now tried to understand each other's thoughts and feelings. The time which was earlier full of difficulties for me, was now getting better. My husband told me, "I now understand that we both need to support each other, and solve the problems at home together." Although it took some time to strengthen our relationship, this time was very important for us. We came to understand that any relationship can be made successful only with each other's help. We should treat each other with love and respect. Now there was more love and understanding in our relationship than before. When we returned to our house and sat with my mother-in-law and started talking comfortably, the atmosphere of the house had completely changed. The tension and fear that was there earlier had now transformed into peace and tranquility. Now there was an atmosphere of unity in the house, and everyone was supportive of each other. Today I think that if I had not shared that truth with my mother-in-law at that time, perhaps this change would never have happened. Sometimes in life we have to muster the courage to speak the truth, and only then we can change the thinking of the other person. There were difficulties in our life, but I accepted the truth and decided to move forward. Now, realizing that everything has become better in the family, I am sure that when we treat each other truthfully, relationships become even stronger.